Welcome back. Former President Donald Trump is vowing to escalate his attacks against Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg following the announcement of his indictment. The Guardian's reporting that Trump told people close to him over the weekend at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida that he wants to go on the offensive, use more colorful language, and that it's time to politically rough him up. The former president followed up by posting his fair share of attacks against Bragg and other attorneys over the weekend on his fledgling social media platform. Trump also criticized Bragg's wife. Joining us now is the author of that new report, political investigations reporter for The Guardian, Hugo Lowell. Hugo, good morning. Take us behind closed doors, if you will, and give us more from this meeting that Trump held at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend, just days before his historic indictment.
Yeah, look, I think the post about Bragg's wife kind of underscores where Trump is with respect to his attacks on the Manhattan DA. You know, it's exactly the kind of thing that Trump likes to go after. You know, he was telling aides he wanted to kind of savage Bragg. I think he feels very wronged by prosecutors because he feels like the case was resurrected and then kind of stood up to come after him. And so, you know, his response has been, well, then I'm going to attack them back. And front and center is, you know, the personal attacks, the political attacks. And he sees a political benefit for his campaign as well. He likes to be seen as a fighter. He wants his supporters to see him kind of lashing back at prosecutors and now the judge. And so I think this is just the first step towards more escalatory rhetoric from the former president.
We heard from our friend Danny Savalas, the legal expert, earlier, suggesting that a gag order in this case was unlikely, but not impossible. Is there any concern in Trump's orbit that if he continues to go after Bragg, and some of the stuff has been downright dangerous, if he continues to go after Bragg, could he risk a gag order or even potentially an additional criminal charge?
Look, I think it's very possible that there's a gag order in this case. I mean, we've seen gag order in previous kind of Trump-adjacent cases with people like Roger Stone, but that was more to do with when he went after witnesses. It's going to be interesting because Trump does have a real inability to, I think, assert self-discipline when it comes to, you know, social media posts and attacks on people. And so if there is a gag order, I think it would be very, very tricky for him not to violate it. And he's going to have to take extra care, right? And if he does violate it, that is going to be a legal problem for him that he has not had to encounter before. I mean, the courts take this kind of thing very seriously. If you violate a gag order, you be in contempt, and most certainly would lead to sanctions.
I believe you just said that Trump has shown an inability to exhibit self-discipline when it comes to social media. That is an early candidate for understatement of the day. Hugo, you know, we know that the Trump team thinks they can benefit politically from this indictment, at least in the short term. Walk us through the dynamic and tell us what they're looking for from his other potential Republican challengers.
I mean, I think you're already seeing the net effect of this indictment giving him a political boost. I mean, over the weekend at Mar-a-Lago, Trump was also kind of pivoting his focus to the political benefits that have come, including how people like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis have had to fall back in line and defend him. And he kind of, I think he's noted this with great satisfaction that, you know, these candidates who are hoping to depose him and to kind of beat him in the primary now have to defend him. And you know, and that is because the MAGA base is still a core part of the kind of the Republican primary voting set, and he knows and they know that they cannot hit him too hard because then the base will never vote for them. And so I think he's looking at this with real satisfaction, especially when it comes to polling. Over the weekend, there were two new polls that came out about how Trump was ahead post-indictment. And they're also looking at the fundraising numbers. You know, you raised the $5 million number earlier, and I think even if that is not the biggest haul he has had, you know, in the 48 hours after indictment, that's not something that any other candidate would have been able to get.
And Hugo, lastly, just walk us through, as best you know, what Trump's day is going to look like. He has said he's leaving around noon, Mar-a-Lago, heading to New York City. What will he do once he reaches Trump Tower to prepare for tomorrow?
Yeah, so I think the schedule that's being circulated around is he's going to leave Palm Beach around 12 or 1 tomorrow. He's then going to fly into LaGuardia and spend the night at Trump Tower. In the morning, possibly quite early, he's going to head to the courthouse at 80 Center Street in Lower Manhattan by motorcade. He will go in, he will be fingerprinted, and he may be photographed, right? This is one of the points that is not certain. Trump wants a mugshot because, as he has been telling aides, maybe they could put it on a T-shirt and he could kind of hold himself up to someone like Che Guevara and sell the T-shirts to his supporters. But then the moment they're done, they're going to go straight back to Palm Beach for a press conference.
We will ignore the comparison there. Political investigations reporter for The Guardian, Hugo Lowell, thank you, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to you again this week. We appreciate your reporting.